Hi Singapore, this is Richie McCaw, captain of the New Zealand All Blacks, and you're mauling with the best in sports on 938 Live.
From 938 Live.
This is Formula One driver Fernando Alonso.
Hi Singapore, I'm Jürgen Klinsmann.
Hi, I'm Martin Tyler.
This is Annika Sorensen.
Hi Singapore, this is Johnny Wilson. You're locked on to the best in sports. Cheers.
You're listening to Singapore's longest running and only sports talk show on radio, 16 years and still going strong. A good Saturday to you and welcome to SportsZone on 938 Live. I'm Noah Tan and today I'm joined by my co-host Noah Farhan.
Well, thanks Noah. And as we're nearing the end of the year, we'll be looking back at some of the highlights of the local sports scene in 2014.
That's right, Farhan, and it's been eventful to say the least. There have been quite a few highs, some lows, national records broken and so much more this year. So let's get right on it and start our local year-end review with the sport of golf and the HSBC Women's Champions Tournament in March. Well, America's Paula Creamer sunk a putt from 25 meters to win the HSBC Women's Champions at the Sentosa Golf Club. The 27-year-old beat Azahara Munoz on the second playoff hole after both players finished regulation play level at 10 under 278. And world number 1 Park In-bee was in 4th place and 3 shots off the lead.
Well, Singapore's very own Madan Mamat also ended his 2-year title drought when he won the Resorts World Manila Masters by 6 shots last month. The 47-year-old veteran completed the final round with a 3 under par 69, and he clinched his 4th Asian Tour title with an overall 20 under par 268 total. Now, Mardan, who earned $180,000 for the win, told the Asian Tour that he almost quit the sport a few weeks before the tournament.
Yeah, I think this week is my best performance for the year. I mean, I've been struggling for past 6-5 months, So to have this victory this week is like, I don't know what to say. I mean, 3 weeks ago I thought of quitting this game, and yet I win now.
Fantastic job, Madan. Okay, let's move on now to the sport of badminton as our national men's shuttlers qualified for this year's prestigious Thomas Cup, which took place in mid-May in India. It had been 28 years since the Lion City last played in the tournament. Quite a long time, and the Republic featured in Group A in New Delhi together with 13-time champions Indonesia, 1961 runners-up Thailand and Nigeria. The good news was announced in March, just 1 week after it was revealed that Team Singapore would also be playing in the Women's Uber Cup. And it capped off a good month for the country after their win in the Malaysia Grand Prix Gold in the men's doubles. So how did Team Singapore do in both the Thomas Cup and the Uber Cup? Well, our men's team were eliminated during the group stage of the Thomas Cup after picking up 1 win in 3 matches. Well, it was a similar story for our women's team in the Uber Cup as they also ended the tournament with 1 win.
Still on badminton, Simon Santoso rewrote the history books in April by becoming the first ever qualifier to win the $300,000 OUE Singapore Open. Now, over at the indoor stadium, the Indonesian stunned world number 1 Lee Chong-wei 21-15, 21-10 in the men's singles final. Now, the victory was only the second in 10 encounters for Simon over his Malaysian opponent. And for his giant-killing efforts, he took home some $28,000. Meanwhile, third-ranked Wang Yihan upset her fellow Chinese and world number 1 Li Xuerui in straight sets to successfully defend her women's singles title. Now, the Chinese also secured the men's and women's doubles titles, while Indonesia bagged the mixed doubles championships.
Alright, let's move on to a sport that is growing in popularity here in the Lion City. Is something that I'm sure you, Farhan, you're quite familiar with it as well. I'm talking about mixed martial arts, of course, because earlier this year, in January, Singapore's Royston Wee won on his debut in an Ultimate Fighting Championship event at Marina Bay Sands. Of course, UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship is one of the biggest MMA events around. In front of a sold-out crowd of 5,200, the 27-year-old Singaporean overcame Dave Galera of the Philippines. At the end of the 3-round fight, Royston won by a unanimous decision score of 30-26. And here's the UFC debutant after the fight.
I was warming up, and then we had to wait. I cooled out, and I was pretty relaxed. And I thought, oh no, I didn't have the power to fight, But once I walked out to the octagon, the cheering of the crowd, was great. First, I thought there would be pressure, but the crowd in Singapore is awesome, And I just want to thank everybody for supporting me tonight.
Well, time to review one of the most bemedaled sport in Singapore. It's a sport that has brought us quite a bit of success in the international sporting scene, and it's, of course, table tennis. And things started out pretty well for Team Singapore because in May they won 3 out of the 4 finals in the $30,000 Philippines Open. Now, Feng Tianwei led the way by winning the women's singles title, while in the under 21 category, Chen Fang beat his fellow compatriot Wu Qikang 4-2 in the boys' final, and Lin Ye claimed the girls' singles title with her victory over Chou Yi-han.
But that's not the only success our national paddlers enjoyed that month, as just a week after their strong showing in the Philippines, both Tian Wei and Zhi Kang completed a clean sweep of the singles title at the Australian Open. In Sydney, the women's championship went to world number 5 Feng Tian Wei after she defeated Japan's Mizaki Morizono in straight sets. And in the men's final, it was an all-Singaporean clash as Zhi Han beat his teammate Zhang Jian 4-1 in the final to lift the title. The national men's team also added a silver in the doubles after Zhang Jian and Yang Zhi lost in 3 sets against Hong Kong in the final.
And a month after that, Tian Wei emerged victorious in the women's singles at the Japan Open. The 27-year-old defeated Japan's Ishikawa Kasumi 4-2 to clinch the title. Now, she also paired up with Yu Mengyu earlier in the day and finished in second place in the women's doubles. Well, all of Tian Wei's successes this year eventually earned her a nomination for this year's International Table Tennis Federation, or the ITTF Female Star Award. Now, the prize, which honors the top table tennis player on the ITTF circuit for a year, will be handed out at a ceremony in Dubai next month.
Staying with table tennis, away from the game itself, in September, a new president of Singapore's Table Tennis Association was elected, and the person who took over the outgoing Lee Bee Wah was none other than MP for Sembawang GRC, Alan Lee. Of course, Alan will have quite a bit to live up to, as under Lee Bee Wah's 6-year tenure, the STTA managed to generate over $10 million worth of sponsorship while also winning medals at 2 Olympic Games. And I think it's fair to say that the sport has grown quite a bit under Lee Bee Wah. So Farhan, what do you think Ellen will need to work on moving forward now that she's taken over the reins?
Yeah, well, no, I've been following local table tennis for quite a bit, and under Lee Bee Wah, they've made leaps and bounds, and they've made achievements. They've won lots of stuff. It's not just about the sponsorships that Lee Bee Wah brings to the table for table tennis. It's the way she treats her national team players like they're her own children. So the new president has got her work cut out for her. I mean, she has to, number one, take care of her players, and also rein in the sponsorship, that just like how Lee Bee Wah used to do.
But what about the next step? Do you think it's time for her to start? Because now the foundation is in place, don't you think? So we have the sponsorship, we have the prestige. Is it time to start grooming more local players instead of getting, Feng Tian Wei has done very well, fantastic, but I think it's time to actually step up grooming our own local players. What do you think?
Well, I can't agree more, Noah, because I'm sure in the local sports scene, everyone talks about how table tennis and they've got their foreign talent, and there's not much local talent. Well, there are, but it isn't, you know what I mean.
Yeah, but Isabel and Clarence are very up-and-coming stars, and it's good to have foreign talent guiding them along as well. Okay, anyway, moving on. Speaking of presidential changes in our national sports associations, we saw Lee Kok Choi appointed as the new head of the Singapore Swimming Association in June. The 62-year-old narrowly beat Jessie Phua, who's the Singapore Bowling Federation chief, by 17 votes to 16. So that's just 1 vote difference. It could have gone either way. So Kok Choi will now take charge of the SSA for the next 2 years, where he'll be assisted by Sports Hub COO Un Jin Teck. And one of the things he did not too long ago was to appoint a new head coach in Sergio Lopez. 45-year-old Sergio was the aquatics director and chief swimming instructor at the renowned Bowl School in Florida, where our own Joseph Schooling had trained at. So quite a positive start for Kok Choi in his reign at the SSA, and let's hope they'll be able to do Singapore proud at the SEA Games next year.
Yeah, especially in the SEA Games next year, because the sport of swimming, they've traditionally brought all the medals for Team Singapore. Not say all, but the majority of the medals in Singapore. So with the new leadership, let's see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm personally, I'm feeling a little optimistic with our chances. I think we can actually go on and do pretty well. You're listening to SportsZone on 938 Live, and today we are reviewing the year of sports in the local calendar.
And it was a momentous occasion for Singapore businessman Peter Lim this year, as he finally realised his dream of owning a top European team. Now that's after he was finally given the clearance to buy over Spanish outfit Valencia in May. Most of you, of course, remembered his failed attempts to buy Liverpool in 2010, and I think many believe that the bid was just a publicity stunt. Well, he certainly proved that's not the case, and it'll be interesting to see how this will benefit, if at all, to Singapore football. What do you think, Noah? Do you think it's a good thing, or should he have invested his money on the local league?
Well, it really depends on what how Peter Lim is going to utilize his stake in Valencia. Is he going to use it to make bridge Singapore football and Spanish football, to bridge the standards? For example, to send some of our local players over to Valencia to get the training that all the top European stars are having. Or is he just using Valencia as a money-making commercial enterprise, for example? So I certainly hope he'll use Valencia as to help the standards of our local footballers improve.
Well, that might be in the long term, but in the short term, though, he'll have to balance the books over in Valencia. He's got to perhaps sign new players and slowly bring them up into the league, and try and break the stronghold that Real Madrid and Barcelona have got. Only after that is done, then we can talk about the local players in the Spanish league. But what's up next, Noah?
Well, on to the annual Standard Chartered Marathon. Singapore four-time 10,000 metres world champion Haile Gabriel Selassie made his debut in the 10 kilometres event this year and finished in third place. The 41-year-old completed the race in 30 minutes flat. Meanwhile, the 2010 Singapore Marathon winner Kenneth Mungara from Kenya once again claimed victory at the Padang with a time of 2 hours, 16 minutes and 42 seconds. And in the women's elite category, Amere Waknesh of Ethiopia grabbed first place with a time of 2 hours, 46 minutes and 54 seconds. The Republic Sea Games gold medalist Mokin Ren won the Singapore category with a time of 2 hours, 54 minutes, while Rachel C was the fastest local woman in 3 hours, 17 minutes.
Well, I spoke to Haile Gabriel Selassie, 2 weeks back or so, when he was in the studio, and he was quite a down-to-earth athlete. I think he's one of the highlights of my career. Interviewing a multiple world record breaker and multiple Olympic and world champion. And yeah, he's really an inspiring person to speak to. Yeah. Well, on a somber note though, in this year's OCBC Cycle Singapore, 24-year-old participant died from head injuries after crashing at the event. Now, this brought up questions from certain quarters over the safety standards of the event and how certain cyclists were spoiling the whole experience with dangerous maneuvers. What do you think about that, Noah? The event is returning next year. Of course, it's not being cancelled altogether. It'll return as the Cycle Asia Singapore. They've got new rules such as they're spacing out the waves, of course, and also they're having an earlier start, and most importantly, they'll have qualifiers for the Super Challenge distance, the longer distance, of course. This will be a good thing for cyclists in the event, don't you think, Noah?
Yes, I think not because for such events, people are, of course, they want to get the best time, but at what cost? Various accounts say that the poor cyclist who died, he was knocked off. It was cyclists were trying to overtake him, being too aggressive, and that this causes accidents, so I hope that although the rule changes help, but it's the mentality of the cyclists, the participants themselves. They need to understand that it's still a recreational event for most of them. Most of the cyclists, it's not a competitive event for many of them. So take it in the correct spirit.
Yeah, I'm going to take part in it next year, but we'll see what's going to happen then. Well, on to one of our most exciting aspects of our local sporting scene this year, and I'm talking about, of course, our new Sports Hub. Now, although it has yet to be officially opened, they've already had several high-profile events at the new $1.5 billion facility, and the very first sporting event that was held at our new national stadium was the inaugural Rugby World Club Tens tournament. Now, there were several stars who turned up for the competition, including former All Blacks scrum half Piri Wipu and one of the best flankers of the game in David Pocock.
Well, that was the first sporting event at our new national stadium. More than 27,000 fans went to catch the very first football match that was held there. In August, a Singapore selection side was hammered 5-0 by Serie A champions Juventus. 35-year-old playmaker Andrea Pirlo, who else scored a double, including a fantastic free kick. I remember the free kick, it totally stumped Singapore and stunned the fans.
You know, I watched the training session for the Juventus game, and Andrea Pirlo was just spraying the ball all over the pitch as if it was nothing. It was second nature, like he was walking.
The maestro.
He's maestro for a reason, definitely, with his right foot of his. Well, meanwhile, we also saw Brazil showcase the best of samba football right here in Singapore as they thrashed Japan 4-0. Barcelona striker Neymar scored all 4 goals in the match. They gave the 52,000 fans in the stadium a real treat. And you were there to cover the game, weren't you, Noah? What do you remember most about it?
I think
Neymar's hairstyle, maybe?
Well, that's one. I think the most outstanding moment, the most outstanding player, it has to be Neymar. He was on top of his game from the very start of the game. Once the whistle blew, you could see he was head and shoulders above the rest of the players on the pitch. I think I was a little disappointed with Willian. You know, I expected a little more from him, but I think despite you know the build up to the game was all about how the pitch, the National Stadium pitch wasn't up to standard. Neymar certainly proved that if you have the correct talent, you have the right skills, you still can do a job on the sandy pitch.
Well, the pitch was a major talking point, especially this year. Don't you agree with the grass problem? And the lights spent on the field, $1.5 million for the field lights. But I hope it'll all be solved in time for the SEA Games next year.
I hope so too, but I think looking at how the Suzuki Cup went, there weren't many complaints. The grass looked greener, it looked fresher. I think.
Well, the Suzuki Cup, the pitch wasn't a problem, but we'll come to that in the second half of the show. Well, apart from our national stadium, though, our indoor stadium was also the host venue for several international sporting events. And one of the tournament that springs to mind is WTA Finals in October. Now, to see the top 8 women's tennis players in the world live in action was an experience that I'll never forget. It will be an experience what Noah won't forget as well. The BNP Paribas SC Global WTA Finals title eventually went to Serena Williams, who admitted afterwards that she was relieved to have won the tournament. In front of a sold-out crowd of 10,000 at the Singapore Indoor Stadium, the 33-year-old beat Simona Halep 6-3, 6-love to lift the Billie Jean King Trophy for a third consecutive time. And Serena's win was also translated into $2 million US dollars in prize money, plus the distinction of being the very first sports personality to have an orchid, a flower named after her in the Republic. And here's Serena on her victory.
It's great. I didn't expect to end the year on this note. I was just, like I said, I was just happy to even be competing here. And at one point, I thought my last match would be against Jeannie, and I was happy to win that match. So I think just it makes everything much more sweeter and everything more satisfying. Especially for me, it wasn't my best year, but I'm just happy to have won one more title this year.
Alright, and that's part 1 of SPortsZone. Coming up after the news headlines, we'll continue our review of the Singapore sports scene of 2014 as we look back at Team Singapore's performances at this year's major games, including the Commonwealth Games and the Asian Games. We'll also go through all that's happened in local football over the past 12 months or so. Well, we have a lot to talk about that. So for all that and more, stay tuned to SportsZone right here on 938 Live.
Hi Singapore, this is Shari Ishak and I play for national football team. For all your football news, stay tuned to SportsZone on 938 Live.
Welcome back to SportsZone on 938 Live. I'm Noah Tan and I'm joined by my co-host today, Noor Fahan, as we continue our review of what's been happening in this year in the local sporting scene.
Well, thanks, Noah. In the first part of the show, we looked back at quite a variety of sports, including golf, table tennis, mixed martial arts, and badminton. And just before we went to the news headlines, we were talking about some of the key events that were held at our new sports hub, which included the first football match at our new national stadium, as well as the WTA finals at the indoor stadium.
That's right, so let's stay with that because apart from the WTA finals, there was another tennis event held at the indoor stadium which saw quite a few more international tennis stars come to Singapore. I'm talking, of course, about the International Premier Tennis League or IPTL, which was held just earlier this month.
Now, the new event was held in 4 different countries, namely the Philippines, India, the UAE, and here in Singapore itself. The Republic was the second leg of the tournament, and the home team, the DBS Singapore Slammers, were hoping to bounce back from 3 straight losses in the Manila leg, but that didn't happen, and instead they crashed to their 4th straight defeat. Now, over at the Singapore Indoor Stadium and in front of 8,000 fans, the Slammers, led by Andre Agassi, were beaten 29-21 by the Manila Mavericks. Both teams competed in the men's singles, doubles, men's legends, mixed doubles, and the women's singles over a 3-hour period. Now, 44-year-old legend Agassi was beaten 6-3 in the opening set by Australia's Mark Philippoussis in the Legends clash. And after losing their next 3 sets, world number 1 Serena Williams gained some consolation by defeating Kirsten Flipken 6-5 in the women's singles to prevent a complete 5-0 whitewash by the Mavericks.
But the second day of the tournament was a different affair for the Slammers as they won for the first time with a 24-23 victory over the Indian Aces. And they ended their campaign at the Singapore Indoor Stadium on a winning note on the final day of the Singapore League as well. Taking on the UAE Royals, it was another close battle to the finish as the Slammers triumphed by 27 games to 25. And it was women's world number 1 Serena Williams who led the way for the home team as she beat Caroline Wozniacki 6-5 in the opening set. Wozniacki was of course making a debut in the tournament. Serena then teamed up with Thomas Berdych to win the next set in the mixed doubles, and Berdych went on to beat the US Open champion Marin Cilic in the men's singles. As for crowd favourite Andre Agassi, he set out the final day of the Singapore leg after losing his previous 2 Legends matches. And the 8-time Grand Slam winner admits it has not been an easy return to competitive tennis.
Part of the great thing about tennis is you don't have to be good, you just have to be better than somebody, and to be better means you can play really well or it means you can bring them down, and so if I have to adjust to what I don't know is probably going to come, then it leaves me even vulnerable to stuff that I like to see, But coming back here, I'm a bit embarrassed with the way I was not responding to the environment from a playing perspective, so I would have to make some adjustments and change how much I play so that I can just flat out compete.
The IPTL then headed over to New Delhi for the third stopover of the 4-Nation Series. For the record, the tournament was eventually won by the Indian Aces, while the Slammers ended, unfortunately, in last place. Now, Fahan, what about you? What did you make of the new tournament format, and do you think it can work in the long run?
Well, I really like the power points rule to that, to the tournament itself, as well as the really compact team event kind of format. But I think it might need more additions for it to pick up steam, so that fans would come and watch, because I'm sure they're more used to the traditional format and they've yet to experience how exciting the IPTL format might be like. So I give it about 2 or 3 seasons before it really can attract the fans.
And what do you make of the home support? I mean, when you went to cover the event, did you see a lot of fans? Do you think our locals will be able to lap up this year after year?
Well, why not? But the amount of fans that came down to watch the IPTL, it wasn't comparable to the WTA finals. I mean, WTA finals, you had packed, the indoor stadium was quite packed, but the IPTL, I think it was held over the weekdays, and that was why the crowds couldn't come down. So perhaps organizers can look towards hosting the event on the weekends so that fans can come down and watch the action.
All right, time to move on now to the country's favourite sport, as we'll now take you through what's been happening in the local football scene this year. And I think it is fair to say we haven't had such a good year in that regard.
No question about that, Noah, as it was as early as January that our local football fans were dealt a blow as our Lions 12 were knocked out of the Malaysian FA Cup. At the Jalan Besar Stadium and in front of 6,000 home fans, our Lions 12 under new coach Fandi Ahmad lost 2-1 to Pahang in the second round, and the defeat marked the end of an 18-month unbeaten home streak at Jalan Besar. Not the most auspicious start for our Lions 12, who finished 8th in the MSL, while also getting knocked out at the group stage of the Malaysia Cup as well. Here's Lions 12 assistant coach Nazri Nasir on his aims for the team next year.
Definitely, this is not a good year for Singapore football. Next year, we try to start a good start for 2015 with an impressive, performance, especially. Winning or losing is part and parcel of the game, but just to show that we try to bring to the next level and try to bring a lot of promising young players, especially.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to the new Lions 12 season, especially with the new signings like Shadan Sulaiman. And also, let's not forget, Christopher Van Huysen. He was a former first 11. He was on the first 11 show on MediaCorp, and then he went on to join Tampines Rovers. And next season, he'll be playing in the Lions 12 in the MSL. That's surely something to look forward to, don't you think, Noah?
Yes, of course. But again, the question is, what are Fundy's expectation? What is expected of Fundy and the team? Are they expected to challenge for the title again? Because Fundy stepped into quite huge shoes. Sundram won the title with a team that nobody thought he could win it. So and Fundy was expected to do the same. But then again, it was a season of rebuilding. So now they've got one season under their belt. Fundy has got one season under his belt with the Lions 12. I think, there are a lot of new signings that are exciting. But then again, how they'll click, how Fundy will get the team together, that remains to be seen. And of course, whether the FAS gives him enough time to implement his ideas and his philosophy as well is a big question mark.
Right, now here's hoping Nazri Nasser and Fandi Ahmad can inspire the Lions 12 to greater heights next season. But what about our local S-League then? Well, our Warriors FC became the champions of the 2014 Great Eastern Yos S-League season. They beat Albirex Negata 1-0 at the Chua Chu Kang Stadium in the final game of the campaign in October. With their season closing victory, Warriors won their 9th S-League trophy with a 3-point margin at the top over second-ranked Brunei DPMM. Now, over at the Jalan Besar Stadium, DPMM were beaten 2-1 by Tampines Rovers. And here's head coach of the Warriors, Alex Weaver.
I'm just delighted that we've managed to put this club back on track, turn things around. Delighted for the players. They've been awesome this season. They really, really have. It's just a very, very good night, and I think they really deserve what they've got tonight. Really do. I've talked a lot in the final run-in about going on a run, and we did at the right time. So the players deserve a lot of credit for that. They've dealt with the pressure. They've dealt with it exceptionally well. Their focus and attention on the things that we've been working on in training has been exceptional, and congratulations to them. They really deserve it.
Congratulations to the Warriors and to Weaver as well. And in the cup competitions, it was Brunei DPMM who won the League Cup after beating Tanjong Pagar 2-0 in the final, while Balestier Khalsa were crowned champions of the 2014 RHB Singapore Cup as they beat Home United 3-1 in front of a 6,175 strong crowd at the Jalan Besar Stadium in November. Now, in addition to adding their first ever Singapore Cup to the trophy cabinet, Balestier also qualified for their first ever AFC Cup. Now, of course, the S-League season culminated with the award ceremony in November, where Warriors FC Hassan Sani won the 2014 Player of the Year accolade. Having been part of the Warriors team which won their 9th league title, 30-year-old Hassan is also the very first goalkeeper since the league's inception in 1996 to win the coveted Players Award. Alright, and but there was quite a bit of controversy as well in the aftermath of the S-League season, as it was announced that the league, which celebrates its 20th anniversary next year, will see its roster of 12 clubs being reduced to 10 instead. That's after the withdrawal of Tanjong Pagar United and the merger of Hokang United and Woodlands Wellington. Players and staff of the three affected clubs were informed of the decisions in November by the key officials from the S-League. And let's hear from Lin Chin now, CEO of the league, speaking to 938 Live Sports about the changes.
Contrary to what most people think, funding is not an issue in this consolidation. Funding remains the same for next season. The league needs to move forward in consolidating a 10-club league to make it stronger. Firstly, the local environment, for example, the demography in Singapore does not really support a 12-club league. And at the same time, the S-League clubs want the league to become very competitive. And as such, you can see that the merger between Hougang and Woodlands will make them a bigger club to challenge for honours. Similarly, Tanjong Pagar felt that they will not be able to field a very competitive side next season, and as such, would like to sit out. The S-League, by not doing anything and remaining status quo, is not the way forward. The S-League wants to become stronger and more competitive next season, and that is good for Singapore football.
CEO of the S-League, Lim Chin. Now, the decision to cut the clubs in the S-League from 12 to 10 did not go down well with many fans and observers. Now, there were also the unpopular policy which restricted the amount of over 30 players each club that could have been implemented, but it was eventually retracted. Now, what do you make of the S-League changes, Noah?
Well, I think it was some say it was a necessary step. I think it could have, if you want to reduce the amount of clubs, unfortunately, I think you have to take away maybe the foreign teams. Hokang and Woodlands Wellington are two of the most well-supported local clubs. And they're, even in small Singapore, these two places aren't exactly very near. So to merge these two clubs together, where are the fans going to go? I mean, Woodlands Wellington fans going to travel to Hokang Stadium for their matches, or vice versa. It doesn't make a lot of sense to merge these two well-supported clubs together. Tanjong Pagar, well, they were very active on social media. I think they did a good job promoting themselves, but I think the internally they need a little bit more sorting out as well in terms of sponsorship and such. What do you think, Farhan?
Well, I think the S-League should invest more on local talent. Yes, you have a point on the amount of clubs in Singapore, but the purpose of the league should be about developing local talent. And I think somehow or other they should be finding new players, because before I move on to the national team next, that's what I'm going to be talking about. Because the national team, they're going to pick the players from the S-League, the Lions 12 and the Koh Siang Lions. And with a smaller pool of players to choose from, that's not going to be a good thing for local football in the long run.
Exactly, and I think the fact that the best players, the best Singapore players, are being poached by the Koh Siang Lions and the Lions 12, that reduces the competitiveness of the S-League as well. I mean, you take away players like Bahaki, Sharil Ishak, then these are star players in their own right, but now they're playing for the Lions 12. They're not lighting up the S-League. So how do you draw in the crowds? It's quite hard if you do that. Local football was given another sobering wake-up call in the AFF Suzuki Cup earlier this month. Despite being grouped together with heavyweight Thailand, Radi Avramovic's Myanmar, and arch-rivals Malaysia, I think the expectations for many local fans here were for the Lions to have reached at least the semi-finals of the competition, especially given that our matches took place in front of our own fans at the new National Stadium. Following a 2-1 loss to Thailand in the opening match, Bernstanger's men at least managed a credible 4-2 win over Myanmar in their next match, so it was down to the third and final group game against our arch-rivals across the Causeway, Malaysia. We just needed a draw to go through, but instead we were knocked out of the tournament by the Malaysians, who beat us 3-1 in front of a crowd of 48,000 at the National Stadium. Here's Singapore's national coach Bernstanger just after the loss.
I have only to praise my team for the attitude and for the commitment. I saw that we get a little bit tired second half, and they came over both wings, and we had some problems. We have to improve that, but that is daily work, that fitness in the league and fitness in our games. If you see which big steps players like Harris made in the Malaysian league forward, what fitness matters are, we lacked a little bit, but I think we lacked a little bit a backbone, in our team. We had this backbone 2-3 years ago with foreigners like Doric, Mustafik, Bennett. We had Chu Lee, players who are now overaged, and we played with the local team, and we can be proud what they delivered, what they tried to deliver.
Bernstanger, well, I wasn't there last night. You were there, don't know. And yes, although Malaysia's second goal was controversial to say the least, I think it was probably a fair result based on the two teams' performances on the night. And I think had we progressed, it would have been nothing more than a mere flimsy cover-up of the deep cracks in Singapore football. But for the record though, the second leg of the Suzuki Cup final between Malaysia and Thailand is happening tonight. And you can catch this match at the Bukit Jalil Stadium live on MediaCorp's Octo channel from 8 p.m. onwards.
Now, on that note, we'll be going for a quick traffic update, but when we come back, we'll wrap up our review of the local sporting scene this year as we take a look at Team Singapore's performances at the major games. Time now for Traffic Watch.
Hey Singapore, this is Haris Harun of the Singapore Lions, and you're listening to the best in sports on 938 Live.
Welcome back to the final stretch of SPortsZone as we continue our review of the local sporting scene this year. So let's not waste any time and get right back into our chat as we look at Team Singapore's performances at the major games.
And first up, we had the Commonwealth Games in Scotland, which took place from July till early August. Over the 11 days of competition, 4,700 athletes from more than 70 countries and territories battled in 260 events. And Team Singapore wrapped up their campaign with 2 silver medals from the final night's badminton action. 25-year-old Derek Wong finished in second place in the men's singles, while his compatriots Danny Bawa Krisnanta and Chayut Triachat also settled for silver in the men's doubles. But undoubtedly, one of the highlights of the Republic was in the swimming pool, as Joseph Schooling finally won Singapore's first ever swimming medal at the Games. At the Tall Cross Swimming Centre in Glasgow, the 19-year-old grabbed the silver in the men's 100 metres butterfly final. South African star Shad Leclos won the gold medal, while England's Adam Barrett took third place. Schooling's time of 51.69 seconds meant that he also clocked the fourth fastest time in the world this year in the 100 metres fly. It's also Asia's fastest time clocked this season in the event. And here's a Singaporean swim star after his momentous feat.
When I jumped in the pool, I knew I felt really, really confident and kind of at peace. And I knew exactly what I had to do and wanted to do. I remember thinking to myself, the last 15, just got to dig deep. And I saw I was catching Chad. I think I passed him at one point, but at that point I was just trying to finish and get to the wall as quickly as I could. And I'm glad that I could win Singapore's first swimming medal ever, and also a huge relief to myself.
Well done to Schooling, and so the Republic's overall medal tally at the Commonwealth Games was 8 gold, 5 silver and 4 bronze medals. And the 21st edition of the Games will take place in Queensland, Australia in 2018.
But Schooling's incredible year didn't just end there, as he made the headlines at the Asian Games in Incheon, which was held from September to October.
Joseph Schooling of Singapore going for our 10th ever Asian swimming gold medal. Joseph Schooling's got to hang on. 20 to glory. Joseph Schooling still ahead. Joe Schooling ahead of Fuji. Joe Schooling has done it. He has done it.
And as you heard, Joseph Schooling delivered a sterling performance to allow Singapore's national anthem to be played for the first time at the Asian Games in South Korea. Having already won the bronze in the 200 fly, the 19-year-old returned to the pool and took the 100 metres butterfly gold in a new Games record time of 51.76 seconds. It was the first time since Ang Peng Siong in 1982, which saw a men's swimmer from the Republic win gold at the Asian Games. And here's a relieved Joseph Schooling after the historic win.
I was really confident. I knew from the start, that I wanted to win, and if someone was going to overtake me, they'd have to die trying. And as far as the results concerned, I'm really, really happy, really pleased, a little relieved, and I'm looking forward to that 50 tomorrow.
Schooling then went on to clinch silver in the 50 metres butterfly finals and completed a hat-trick of medals at the Games, and also became the only swimmer in history to win a medal in all 3 fly events at a single ASIAD.
It wasn't just Schooling who did well at the Games. Our national sailors also did us proud for the third consecutive ASIAD campaign as they returned home with gold medals. That's after Jodie Lai finished first in the women's optimist class, while the pair of Kimberly Lim and Savannah Sue also claimed the top prize in the women's 420 event. 13-year-old Jodie recorded a net score of 22 points over 12 races. The Raffles Girls Secondary 1 student was 4 points ahead of runner-up Yu Huijia of China, while bronze went to Thailand. And here's Jodie after winning the gold.
Very happy because I won gold. Thank you for your support. When I came here, I just thought of giving my all, try my best and then see how the result will be. Because I got a bullet for the first race and a third for the next race, so today was quite good. Positive instead of negative, so I just thought I'd just try my best on this race, so if anything happens and I know I tried my best, I won't be that upset.
The Republic sailors also bagged 2 silver and 2 bronze medals in 4 other events. Now over in 10-pin bowling action, and for the 4th straight Asian Games campaign since 2002, the Republic's Kegglers are also coming back with the gold, and that's after the women's team of 5, including Jazreel Tan, Daphne Tan and Shayna Ng, finished at the top with a score of 6,119 pinfalls. They were 71 pins ahead of nearest challenger South Korea, and here's the former world champion Shayna on the key to her team's success.
The main key for our success is communication between the whole team. So we just kept together and, we just block out everyone else because we know that distractions are not going to do us any good. So we just stayed together, communicated with each other, make sure that when there's a change in the lanes, all of us are aware of it. So together we progress as a team and, that's how we got our medal.
The Republic's Jazreel Tan, who secured the silver medal in the women's singles on the previous week, also managed to clinch the bronze in the all-events category. And Singapore eventually ended their Asian Games campaign with 5 gold, 6 silver and 13 bronze medals.
Now, before we conclude our roundup of the local sporting scene this year, let's see how we did at the Youth Olympic Games in Nanjing. Our final medal tally at the YOG stand stands at 2 gold and 2 silver medals. Over 12 days, the Republic saw 18 of our best teenage athletes compete across 8 sports in the second edition of the quadrennial event. And when asked for an overall rankings performance of the contingent, Chef de Mission Mark Che told 938 Live Sports that the YOG is much more than just about medals.
No, we came here with a very lean team of 18, as opposed to in 2010 when we had 100 over athletes. It's a small number, but we made up in terms of the quality of our athletes. What we lack in the numbers and quantity of our athletes, we make up for the quality. The results speak for themselves. We came back with 2 gold as well as 2 silvers.
And that was Mark Che. Well, Farhan, before we go, just a very quick one. What was your highlight of the year for the in our local sporting scene?
Well, to me, to be honest, was Derek Wong's silver in the Commonwealth Games. I mean, it's been a long time since we had a men's singles badminton player winning a major tournament. Not say winning, but achieve something big for the.
It came very close.
It came very close too against India's Kashyap Parupalli in that event in Glasgow.
Well, for me, it was although we lost against the Malaysians at the National Stadium. I think when we scored that goal, the atmosphere, everybody cheering, and the whole stadium seemed to come alive. That moment, that special moment, that was the highlight for me. And I hope, for Singapore's football's sake, that we can have more of such moments in the future. Well, that's all the time we have for SportsZone today. It has been an exciting year in our local sporting scene, and I'm sure we're in for more thrills and spills next year, especially with the SEA Games being held on home soil. So till the next time, I'm Noah Tan.
And I'm Noor Farhan. Take care and bye for now.